There's a decent chance that I get fired this year. Last season, I took my first head coaching job at Louisville, but we went 5-7, so I couldn't get us to a bowl game. And if I failed to do that again this year, I would be out of my job by the end of the video. My first recruiting class was almost in the top 25, and with plenty of new talent on the team, I was surprised that we were projected to finish at the bottom of the ACC. My athletic director was expecting 7 wins this season, so I was not happy that our first game was against the best team in the country. But after naming Mike Tyler as the starting QB, it was time to play our opening matchup. And I knew that if we wanted to take down number 1 Arizona, we'd have to play perfectly. So I was thrilled to watch Mike Tyler hook up with Greg Smith to start the game. However, just like last year, my defensive unit was extremely questionable, and I knew that if I wanted to avoid getting fired while getting Louisville to a bowl game, I'd have to figure out how to make them play better. On the other side of the ball though, Mike Tyler looked incredible as he casually dropped this 38-yard pass into the hands of junior Tyler Starks. But I could tell that if we wanted any chance of pulling off this upset, we would have to score every possession, so I snapped my clipboard in half when starting running back Curtis Bruner dropped what would have been the game-tying touchdown. As a junior, he simply can't make mistakes like that because it would lead to another Arizona score, and after the Wildcats started the third quarter by going up 21 points, I knew that we had fallen too far behind to have any chance at pulling off the upset. The only positive was how well Mike Tyler played, and hopefully he could get us to a bowl game. I knew we could beat the team that ripped off our logo, but that certainly wasn't the only exciting thing about this week. At the end of the game, I'm going to show you all the recruiting class that I'm putting together, and it's insane. But first, we have to take care of business against Illinois State, and I was just thankful that it wasn't a close game as Mike Tyler put up 4 touchdowns. But now it's time to see the potential incoming prospects, and I was going for 9 different 5-star recruits, which was going to take a lot of NIL cash and strippers. But players with stats like this are well worth it. And if I was going to avoid getting fired at the end of the year, we would have to beat number 24 Kentucky, which wouldn't be easy with the way our defense started the game. However, Mike Tyler and TJ Keith seemed to have other plans as they single-handedly carried my offense down the field and tied it up just minutes later. It was simply their game today as they continued to connect on plays that I knew nobody else in the country could make, and they linked up in the end zone for the second time. But our lead was short-lived as I still couldn't coach this defense, and Kentucky's quarterback came out on fire to start the third quarter. However, that would make a difference as I called the best plays that I knew in the second half, and we ended up just running out the clock. I brought the Governor's Cup home to Louisville, which got all of the 5 stars on my recruiting board desperate to come to the Ville, and today I was expecting to coach us to an easy win over the Duke Blue Devils. But it wasn't looking good for us from the start. I wanted to chew out every single defender that was on my defense after this opening touchdown, and they weren't the only ones getting screamed at. The offensive line was content letting Mike Tyler get run through, so he couldn't get up after that, and I was forced to put in backup quarterback Ronnie Mitchell, which would make this game hard to win. However, it did give us the flexibility to focus more on pounding the rock, so it was a tie game up until this Duke touchdown run. Unfortunately, it looked like it was going downhill from there with this blatantly terrible read by Ronnie Mitchell, but it wasn't. Junior quarterback Anthony Brooks turned everything around when he picked off the Blue Devils and took it back to the house for 6. Yet it still just wasn't enough to get us a win. Duke took a 2-possession lead on a field goal, and they ended up giving us our second loss of the year. I was getting close to being on the hot seat, and we couldn't lose to Virginia this week. Luckily, Mike Tyler was back for this game, and after he found senior wide receiver Brian Carter on a simple slant, he got to sit back and watch him go to work on the Cavalier defense, pulling off a 67-yard play which would lead to the tying touchdown. I think I was setting Mike Tyler up for success by calling a lot of passing plays because he was threading the needle with ease. By the third quarter, he already had 4 touchdown passes, and I was so excited to see the Alabama transfer finally living up to his full potential as he got us a much needed win. If I could outcoach Dabo Swinney, there's no way Louisville could fire me. However, it seemed like Mike Tyler didn't care too much, as he made sure Clemson got on the board first. We ended up falling behind by 14, so I screamed at my quarterback for his poor start, and he bounced back. But Mike Tyler couldn't single-handedly carry this offense to success. my offensive line was still letting him get destroyed from behind, and to end the third quarter, Clemson continued to keep the score distant from us. So out of desperation, I told Mike Tyler to just throw it up, and surprisingly, Tyler Starks came down with it, which I thought could lead to a touchdown, but he decided to turn it over seconds later instead, and we left Death Valley with a bad result. So I had to call for an extra practice to make sure that quarterback Mike Tyler was on top of it, because we were hosting undefeated Boston College. That was my best decision yet, as he pulled off the play perfectly in the game, and even though the Eagles were ranked as the 11th best team in the entire country, we started off with a 14-point lead, and I was so proud of how well my defense was playing tonight. However, I probably shouldn't have said anything, because I knew I had jinxed us with Boston College tying it up. All of a sudden, I was watching my team collapse in front of their home crowd, and we trailed going into the fourth quarter. I felt like we could still win this game though, and I decided that I needed to get back to running a balanced offense like I did at New Mexico. However, after watching one of the unluckiest interceptions that I had ever seen, I gave up as we simply didn't have what it took to pull off the upset, and I could easily be fired if we didn't win against Florida State this week. So it wasn't good that Seminoles quarterback AJ Duffy started the game off with a 14-yard touchdown run. Things got even worse when Curtis Bruner fumbled the ball away on the goal line, and then Florida State scored again. Even Mike Tyler ended up turning the ball over close to the end zone, but that would lead to a Tom Carter pick six, so it ended up being okay, and we got back into a rhythm at the end of the half. To start the third quarter, my defense forced their second turnover of the game, but that would end up leading to no points for us, so with 3 minutes left, we were not in a good position. However, we ended up getting the ball back with about 70 seconds and a chance, but with time running out, we were going to need a miracle, and Mike Tyler stepped up and connected with Tyler Starks on this play. I decided to be aggressive here and go for the win, which was risky, but it got us back on track to making a bowl game, and I was glad that I did that because almost every 5-star I was recruiting committed, giving us 8 of them in a singular class. However, I was not happy with how Mike Tyler started out against Syracuse, as we went down extremely fast to the number 7 team. With 2 minutes left in the second quarter, we still hadn't scored, and I was getting embarrassed as a coach in this matchup. I couldn't stand watching Mike Tyler get railed with no protection, so I told him to just sling it before he got sacked next time, and that didn't go well either. With 2 minutes left, we were still down by 21, so I realized that making a bowl game wasn't very likely, and since that was what my athletic director wanted, I knew that this would probably be my last snow game ever as a Cardinal. I was on the hot seat, and if we didn't win 2 of our last 3 matchups, there's a good chance I wouldn't be back in Louisville next year. So fortunately, we got on the board first, which was something new to us. And then I watched Mike Tyler throw one of the luckiest but amazing touchdown passes I'd ever seen. He was torching the number 21 team in the country's defense, and with 30 seconds left in the first half, he threw his 4th touchdown of the day. I also have to mention how well our defense was playing throughout the game, because I was so proud of how they finally stepped up and did their job. In the end, it was clear that we'd stay on top, and taking down a ranked team should save my job. If I could coach us to one more win, we would gain bowl eligibility, and Mike Tyler started off against Wake Forest by delivering a beautiful throw to wide receiver TJ Keith for a 57-yard play, which also got him into the Louisville record books. Even though the Demon Deacons responded right back, I called the perfect run play, and Curtis Bruner busted off this 48-yard breakaway touchdown run. I decided that I needed to get him more involved in the offense, and that decision made it so my team moved down the field with ease. Once again, my defensive unit was actually doing a good job, but so was Wake Forest, as they read my wide receiver screen call like a book, and with them taking it back to the house, that made it a one-possession game. After that interception, Mike Tyler seemed to struggle a lot more, but after I instilled some confidence in him, he slung it 50 yards in the air to find TJ Keith with a massive play for the second time today. And then on 4th and goal, my defense got a clutch stop, so with less than 2 minutes left in the game, it was clear that I was going to pull off a much needed win, and I actually made us bowl eligible. At this point, we couldn't finish first in the ACC, but if I could take down NC State, I knew I wouldn't be fired this year, and TJ Keith almost started the game off with an insane play. However, he didn't, and we fell behind by 7 early. Luckily, that deficit didn't last long as Mike Tyler threw a dot, but our defense couldn't keep the Wolfpack out of the end zone, and we continued to give up touchdowns like Ohio State did to Michigan. With quarterback Mike Tyler being just a tad bit off target today, I knew it was going to be a long one if he couldn't figure it out, and the score just kept getting worse and worse for us. In the end, it was 49-7, and that's when I heard the big transfer rumor. Apparently, Mike Tyler didn't want to play here his senior year, so Tyler Starks might have a new quarterback next season. I got to travel to Hawaii for my first bowl game ever as a head coach, and you might notice that backup Ronnie Mitchell was starting today. But that's because Mike Tyler officially confirmed that he was transferring, so I felt like I had to put a new starter out at QB. And even though there were times when he made some really questionable reads, I love the fact that he had the ability to use his legs, making my offense way more versatile and harder to stop. We went into the fourth quarter up by 9, and Ronnie Mitchell made it even more. He was also able to get the 2, putting us up 3 possessions, and that would be enough to get us a bowl win. I knew that I wouldn't be fired after that, and I even got a 7-year extension. So with the best recruiting class in the country, I was excited for my 3rd year in the Ville.